obviously in '06, the heartbreak, really set in for us. And it was some dark days that summer after, giving up a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals. It was disappointing. So after getting over that disappointment, we understood the work we had to put in. And you as a competitor, you always think, okay, next year we're gonna get back, and then you don't get back. Then it's another year. Then the team changes, coaches change, but your mentality and your focus and the work you have to put in doesn't. Dirk and the I's relationship through that disappointment brought us closer together. Obviously I was brought from Atlanta to Dallas to kind of replace Steve Nash, and that was a void that could not be replaced. I mean, those guys, Dirk and Nash's relationship was a special type of bond. He and I are two different type of players, two different type of personalities, two different type of people, and it just took a minute for us to mesh. But through our disappointment and failure, brought us closer together. And then, as we started to assemble our team, bring in Tyson Chandler, Jason Kidd, Sean Marion, get the pieces that were necessary at that particular time to get back to the championship, to the finals. We knew we had the formula, and then also, Rick Carlisle was the instrumental leader, the guy that kind of drove the ship and allowed us to do what we did well in our roles, basically star in our roles together as a unit to realize our ultimate goal. And it was great, but those were some tough years. I mean, those 5 years of trying to get back, putting all you had into training, putting all you had into the season, and then getting to each and every season and not getting there. I mean, we didn't even come close. I mean, there were several first round and outs. There was a second round loss to Denver in there. And it just seemed like it would never happen. But once we assembled that team in 2010 in that summer, we kind of knew we had the formula and our time was now.
Love it. The great Jason Terry hanging out with us, assistant coach with the Utah Jazz right now. Jason, let me introduce you to the crew, and we'll go around the horn here, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. We
Sure.
have the insufferable Dr. X, okay? He's in the lower right-hand corner here, wearing all the Knicks gear. Monster Knick fan. And he's a sports medicine radiologist. He started this network. He's our patriarch. And he's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and just a killer guy, man. And so he's the dude. Above him, Brandon Armstrong, a.k.a. B-Dot, NBA impersonator. I'm sure you've seen his stuff online.
Yeah.
He is a viral sensation. In our LA studios, upper right-hand corner, we have A.M. Pfeffer, we have Ashley Neville, and in the lower left-hand corner, we have a Canadian basketball legend, Dwight Walton. He was on their national team for a long time, played in the Olympics in 1988, and a long-time overseas career as an undersized rebounder who was gnarly on the court, Jet. So let's go to the insufferable Dr. X, as we are calling him right now. Dr. X, come on in here with the Jet.
So, Jason Terry, I was a huge fan of yours because, as a Knick fan, you needed to have a second team. You had to have a second team. I was behind this Dallas team, and kind of like what people are saying in terms of like uh Brunson beating Wemby was good for the NBA. I felt you guys beating the Miami Heat was actually great for the NBA because everybody's like, oh, not one, not two, not three. Of course, I eventually wanted LeBron to get one because I just felt that was, I felt bad for the guy, right? But I was happy that you guys showed that a good team can beat this super team. Now, my question to you is, and it just changed as Rick was setting this up. Did you guys shake hands after you guys beat them, or did they walk off the floor?
Oh man, you know what? I really can't recall. I was so elated and so excited. I don't remember, but you know what? I do remember shaking D Wade's hand for sure. And that was just due to the battle from '06. Mike Bibby was a
Yep.
college teammate. I shook his hand.
Hmm.
And maybe Eddie House, maybe because he was a college foe. Um,
Hmm.
but other than that, I
See,
don't just
college
remember
foe.
going down the line and just dapping guys up. I mean, we were
Of
into our
course, there wasn't
moment
a line.
for sure. But Dr. X, let me ask you a question. How
Yeah,
long did
yeah,
it
I'm
take
here.
to dust off that jacket, that Nick starter jacket you got on? How long did it take to dust that
Oh no,
off?
this is new, man. This is a billionaires ball
Yeah,
club. I had this.
I mean,
I had this from day one.
I don't know, man. I've been watching a lot of Knicks coming out the woodworks, man. Guys
Not this
that
Not
one.
this
played.
guy. Not this
I
guy,
don't
Jet.
even not him. Okay, I'm just saying, like, where are we at? Where you played for an organization, you moved on from that organization, but then now 20, 30 years later, that team wins a championship. Are you a fan of them? Like, I don't know. I could see if you're Patrick Ewing, I get it, 100%. But some of these
Yeah,
cats
Patrick
play
Ewing
for three
days.
and four or five different teams, and now they on the
Oh, you
float,
talking
they
about the
on the
legends?
parade. Yeah, they with Jada Kiss. I mean, when the Celtics won, I should have been with Jason Tatum smoking cigars. I don't know, man.
You're right.
It's getting out of control. But I'm happy
I
for the
like
Knicks.
it, but
They
it is getting
deserve it.
out of control. You're right. You're
It's getting
right.
out of
It is.
control.
It
But
is.
I
It
mean,
is.
I'm happy. I'm happy for the Knicks though. They were the best team. I tell you what, sitting on that sideline, facing them in Madison Square Garden this season, while I was with the Jazz, we were down 23-0. 23-0.
Mm,
I couldn't remember a time in my career when I played of facing a deficit that big. But when I watched the film and I went back, I said, man, this team got a real shot. They were hitting on all cylinders. They defended at every position. They had great depth.
mhm.
And then Jalen Brunson, I mean, what better orchestrator and closer to have than him in our game today?
Wow. Yeah, I remember that game. That was one of the games I didn't want to watch because they were playing all these bottom feeders that were tanking. But I know you can't respond to
I don't
that.
even know what that is. I don't even know if that's real or not.
Good answer, Jet.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir. But
I
love,
love it.
congrats to you, to the Knicks, baby.
Thank you, my bro. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, B Dot, come on in here with the great Jason Terry.
What's up, man? Hey, big fan, bro. I'm from Atlanta, so I
Okay.
watched you a lot with the Hawks, and I stole after you make a 3-pointer. I stole that in college, but I just added the three to the wings. You feel me? I hit the three, and
Oh,
I go
okay.
down the sideline like, yeah, yeah. So, man, hey,
Hey.
big fan, bro. Big fan.
Yes,
But
sir.
my question
Appreciate you.
is with that 2011 Mavericks team, y'all beat LeBron, Wade, Bosh. Why doesn't that championship get talked about like like one of the greatest runs ever? Because y'all got that championship in blood. Like y'all beat the Trailblazers, the Lakers, and OKC, and Miami Heat in dominant fashion. I don't think any of those teams won no more than 2 games. And I feel as though that is the greatest championship run of all time, in my opinion, because you guys were looked at as underdogs. Like you guys had a great team. Y'all had great players, veteran leadership. Like why do you feel in today's game it doesn't get talked about or get respected as much as I think it should?
Well, you know what? I know other people don't talk about it as much, but we sure do. Every time
Hello.
around this time of year, we get in our little group chat and we talk about it. I mean, when you look at it for us, I think one of our defining moments was because they always say the road to the championship goes through the champion. And people don't talk about how the Lakers with the late great Kobe Bryant, right, and Phil Jackson were going for their third championship. I mean, they were going for three in a row. And I thought for us to sweep them in the fashion we did, we didn't have home court advantage. We won 2 games in LA, and then we swept them, at home. Was one of our biggest feats outside of winning in the championship, just because they were the champ, man. And anytime you're facing Kobe, it's tough. You gotta go to a dark place to get mentally focused and in tune to what you have to do to knock him out. And it wasn't easy at all, man. It was tough. And like you said, then the next round, yeah, OKC had Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, but they really weren't who we've grown to love today, right? You could see it, the potential was there, but they just hadn't had that experience yet. So that series was not as hard or as difficult. Now we were down in a couple of those games. We had to fight back and close them out, but that's what veteran teams do. That's kind of what the Knicks did to San Antonio. They used their veteran experience and their IQ to close out games, which is very difficult to do, especially in series. So, but like you said, it definitely was epic. That run was an epic run. But a lot of teams can say, they've had epic runs on their way to championships. We just like to put ours out there first.
Nah, y'all are definitely it's definitely top two and not two at
Of
all.
course.
And I got
Yes,
one
sir.
more question. You won 6 man of the year, averaging almost 20 off the bench. Why is
Mhm.
it so hard for players to accept being a 6 man, even when that role can make them more valuable?
Well, it takes a lot to swallow your pride and really realize what the individual accomplishment and individual achievement means to a team. And if you can't see outside yourself and for the betterment of the team, then you won't realize it. And for me, I've always done it. I mean, in college, I was able to do so. When I was starting, we were off to a great start. Ludosin came to me. We got our star player back, and he was like, "Look, somebody got to sacrifice." I said, "Hey, no problem." That spring, we ended up winning the national championship. So from that day forward, it was never hard for me. And I can even go back to my upbringing in my childhood. I mean, I'm one of 10, second oldest. There were some nights I had to eat less so my little brothers and sisters could eat, and everybody was happy. So for me, it was all about happiness and making sure my team had success. And if my role meant sacrificing, hey, I was the guy to do it. And it's hard for some star players. I mean, obviously, I could have started on probably 80% of the teams in the NBA, was a starter previously. But for us to achieve our ultimate goal as a team, somebody had to make that sacrifice. And it was me, and I relished in that role because as a six man, when they call your name, the game already started. You get your own introduction. I mean, I had a guy with the Mavericks. He used to, the jet is on the runway. You hear that, man? You're hyped. You're ready to go out there and kill. And another thing is, I'm usually going against the backups. Now you're talking about a guy that can start on 80% of the
Mhm.
team, going up against somebody else's backup. I got the advantage.
Mhm.
Barbecue chicken every
Mhm.
time. Nah, I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
that,
Love it.
man. I appreciate you that, Jet.
Yes, sir.
Great stuff, man. Jed, I got to follow up quickly here before I go to Dwight. I'm a Kobe freakazoid, okay? Absolute
Man.
freak show about Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality. I walk with it, okay? So you mentioned you have to go to a dark place to beat Kobe. Can you define that a little bit for us?
Well, you really got to just lock in and eliminate distractions. I mean, I'm cutting my phone off. I'm getting extra rest. Like I'm watching more film than I would ordinarily on a night against a different opponent. I'm seeing how he defends, right? I'm seeing where I can get my shot off. You don't have many of those opportunities, and it's just a different preparation when you're facing a guy like him. I mean, I think in my career there probably was four guys that I could name where you really had to go to that dark place, and it was Kobe, Allen Iverson, uh, any team Kevin Garnett played for, because he's calling out he's not even guarding you, and he's calling out the coverages that they're about to get into. Uh, and then
Mhm.
Jason Kidd, because I mean, he was just a tough foe. I mean, it's just hard to outmaster the mastermind himself. So those four were nice. You really got your rest, and you really locked in and zoned in and concentrated on what you had to do.
I love it. Thank you, Coach. All right, Dwight, come on in here. Go ahead.
Hey, Jet, thanks for being on the show this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
You touched on it briefly. I'm from Canada, born and raised in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and my teammate for several years on the national team was Steve Nash.
Oh man.
Speak, can you touched on it briefly? Can you speak more on it? How difficult it was to replace not only a man that went on to win two MVPs and is now in the Hall of Fame, but you talked about the relationship that he had with Dirk Nowitzki. They were popular as a duo in Dallas. I know that was a tough decision for Mark Cuban and that Dallas Mavericks organization to make at the time. But could you speak more in depth to how difficult it was for that 5 year period from when you lost in 2006 to your eventually championship in 2011? How that 5 year period played out for you in replacing the great Steve Nash?
Well, I think year one for me was the transition, and it was the most stressful and challenging year of my career. Right, it was a defining moment in my career because again, I had been in Atlanta for 5 years, primarily just shooting all the balls, playing for nothing. And now I had to learn a position to where I'm replacing a guy that is literally top five in the league at that position, right? When I'm a scoring guard. Now, I can't take a lot of the credit. I have to give a lot of the credit to my mentor, Avery Johnson, who literally sat with me day to day, every day, mentoring me, watching film, working me out, showing me tricks of the trade, teaching me how to not only become a NBA point guard, but how to become a leader of men. And for me, that was the most valuable time of my career. That first year, Donnie Nelson was our coach, but halfway through, Avery Johnson became our coach, and he really just poured into me. He could have went and poured into any other player on our team, but he seen something in me, and he sat me down that first day. I'll never forget. And he said, "You know what? The reason why you're not having success out here is because you're not being you. You're not Steve Nash. We brought you here to be you and do what you do well." And I said, man, I figured it out. I mean, no wonder why I can't sleep at night. No wonder why I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And I think every young player that comes into our league has a moment in time where they have to figure out who they are as a player and as a person, right? What is your purpose? And when he gave me that purpose driven life book, and I read through that and I aligned all my values and my beliefs. And then I really looked in who I am as a basketball player and as a person. It hit home for me. And then it just started to turn on and start to happen for me. I started to be able to read situations. I could score it on anybody at any time. Like that was my God given gift. But to be able to run a team, direct, and be a leader of men, Avery Johnson gave me that tool, and I thought I was able to do that to the best of my ability. My first 3 or 4 years in Dallas. Now we did have one trying time, and that was in my first playoff experience with Dallas. It was my first year again. I was just coming to my own, figuring out who I was, and we had to face Steve Nash in the second round. I mean, this was, you talk about some dark days. This was dark for me because Nash was cooking. He probably was averaging 28, 15 assists, and he ended up hitting the game, tying 3-point shots, sending it to overtime in game, I think it was game 4 or 5. And it was on me. It was totally my mistake. And I never could live that down that entire summer. I thought about it. I dreamt about it. I had to relive it. My teammates were disappointed in me, and I had to live with that. But in that moment, living with that disappointment and that defeat, it only made me dig deeper and work harder. And then that next year, we ended up playing them in the Western Conference Finals. And I won't say I outplayed them, but my team won, and it took us to the NBA Finals for our first time in franchise history, and we knocked him off. And I think that was the year he ended up winning. I don't. I think he won. He might have won MVP that year.
You know,
His first one.
yeah, listen, Steve and I go way back. Like I said, we play on the team
Yeah,
together, and
Cole.
he's one of the best teammates, if not the best teammate I've ever had. I've got many friends
Yeah.
from that period, from that era. But listen, Steve, he's a great dude, great teammate, everything that happened. But and I just think it was time for him to go to a different franchise, and also it to put a bow on the story, him leaving our national program because he was having serious back issues at the time. And I think that was the
Mhm.
question that Mark Cuban and the Mavericks had at the time, is that his health was always in question. But that year, that summer, he left our program for the last time, was able to use the offseason to rest and to get his back and his other injury issues taken care
Mhm.
of. That's when his career truly took off. So listen, although it might not have been his time in Dallas, you coming in was definitely the right choice. And eventually it led to you guys winning a championship. And to my final question to you is, in 2011, when you played against the Miami Heat, in game two, Dwayne Wade makes the corner three in front of your bench to
Oh
put
yeah.
the Heat up by 15 with 5:56 to go in the fourth quarter. Timeout was called. What did you say in that timeout after you saw Dwayne Wade hit the three? He poses. He and LeBron James are celebrating as if the series is over. What did you say when that timeout was called in that timeout to galvanize you guys to come back and to sort of shift the series? Although you guys did lose game 3 in Dallas, do you think that was a turning point for your team and that eventually led to you guys winning the championship?
Well, it definitely was a turning point because if you go down 0-2, we pretty much knew that that series was over. They had all the momentum. And so, for us, the timeout was called. I was already getting on my way towards the bench, but then I see all that celebrating and I'm like, I look, and the flashback, it just hit my head. It just reminded me like the moment we were in and the opportunity that we had and how long it took to get back to that point. So in that split second, I get right to the bench. I usually stand up, and Daryl Armstrong standing in the aisle. I tapped him on the shoulder, and I kind of leaned over, and I was like, "Nobody likes a show off." And then I got back in. I'm listening to Carlisle, and everybody's I'm looking. Nobody's talking to each other. Everybody's in their own zone. And right when Tyson Chandler gets up, I kind of nudged him and was like, "Have no fear. The OG is here." And then he kind of looked at me and he just cracked a smile. Jay Kidd never smiles. He wasn't concerned. And we went out and we knew what we had to do. We had to get stops and we had to score. Simple as that. Get a stop, score. Get a stop, get a score. And if you go back and watch that last 4.5, 5 minutes, we literally got to stop almost every possession unless it was a foul, and we converted. And then Dirk put the nail in the coffin with the lefty layup.
Yep.
I believe it was over Chris Bosh or LeBron at the basket.
Yes.
So it was epic. It was epic.
Thanks.
That's awesome, man. I love that Dwight brings that up because Jed, I was with NBA TV at the time. I was in the arena for that, and Dwight, when I saw D Wade posing like he was, like live in the arena, I'm like, that ain't it. I
That ain't
just
it.
I just had a feeling that ain't it, right? And I love Dwayne Wade,
Uh,
big fan, but I was like, nah. I mean, I get it. It looks really good, and man, the floodgates opened. All right, let's go to our beautiful LA studios. Let's bring in Ashley Neville. Ashley, you are with Utah Jazz assistant coach Jason Terry.
How are you? Good to see you.
Bear
Bear down,
down.
baby. Bear
Yeah.
down. So
We
me
were
and
close
JT
this
go way
year.
back. I
Yep.
was going to ask you about that. I mean, I have so many questions and follow-ups, but I think I want to do this setup appropriately. If we want to talk about Jalen Brunson, we also need to talk about you because you won 2 state titles in high school. You won a national championship at the University of Arizona, and you also won an NBA championship. Now, when we take a look at your career, not just the success there, but you've also had the goggles, the headband, the jet plane, all these different things. But what is one moment that stands out that defines you when you take a look at your whole career?
I think the biggest moment for me that stands out is just the relationships that are gained through a game that we love to play. So if I go back and list the teammates from high school, college, and then even in the NBA, my 19 years, like those are some relationships that of people that you would never even have come across had you not have picked up that basketball. And I'm talking about from coaches to GMs to media personalities to just the teammates, equipment managers. I mean, all types of people from different ways and walks of life that you would have never encountered, that you have this special bond and relationship with, all because you can shoot a little round basketball. I mean, those are the things that I cherish and love the most. Yeah, I love the winning because the winning is a byproduct of the hard work, the dedication, and the sacrifice that it took to get there, right? But I also love what I do now, and that's the development, the mentorship, the teaching, the giving back to a game that has given me so much. It's something that's very important and means so much to me.
So speaking of the giving back, the mentorship, obviously the Arizona Wildcats went to the Final Four this year for the first time in over 20 years. What is something that you would have said to them in the locker room at halftime when they were down as much as they were against Michigan? And that game, obviously, they weren't able to come back. But what is something that you would have told them, especially experiencing being down yourself?
Well, I would have told him the same thing Steve Kerr and Sean Elliott told us 97 Wildcats when they hopped on that bus in Indianapolis before we took the court for the Final Four. Steve and Sean told us straight up. They say, look, nobody remembers second place. They don't. So you're here, you might as well win it all. And that's what I would have told them. You guys are here. You might as well win it all because you don't know if you're going to get another opportunity. And I think those words that they told us that night resonated with us. And we didn't want to be second. We wanted to have that one shining moment and be on that video played in front of hundreds of thousands of fans. And we wanted that parade and we wanted to ride around Tucson and beat a man. And that's what happened.
And so when you spoke about that experience for you when you guys were down by 15 with 5 minutes left to go, I kind of want to take us back to that moment Anthony Edwards was shaking hands and congratulating, and just they were down by what? By 20. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I can't just see the thing about it is with us professional athletes, I can't tell you how, and even in life, I tell my kids this, I can't tell you how to handle certain situations. Some things you have to do and learn on your own. But for me as a competitor, I'm not shaking nothing before the game is even over with. Now, if I got a buddy on the other team or a coach or somebody that I know that me and him is tight, cool. But especially if you're my enemy and I don't fool with you, I will go down the list of my enemies in the league, which is far gone now. But when I see them in the street still to the day, I kind of just look at them and walk off. There's still a couple of those out there. That's just how intense
I'm
our
gonna have
battles were. And yeah,
I have to know who those I have to know who those guys are.
we,
Now you're
we
leaving me
got to
on a
save that
cliffhanger
for
here.
we got to save that for another episode. I promise you, I'll come back on and we can go down the list. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
it.
And then just one
Thanks,
more
Jet.
question for you. Who in the NBA today reminds you of you?
Oh. You, you know what's funny? I was having a conversation the other day, and I'm watching Mateen Cleave's son and AJ Bramlett's son compete at Section 7, which is a showcase in front of all the college coaches. And I said, you know what, man? Nobody's flying around with the passion and with the joy and with the love of the game. Nobody's doing that. And it's hard for me to pick out a guy now in our league because it just seems like a lot of these young men that are playing our game today, it's a job to them. And they're not enjoying it because they've put in so many hours of work and it's a task and it's something that they've been looking forward to their whole life and everybody's telling them they're gonna make it and they finally made it and they're not really enjoying it. So it's hard to pick out. But if I do pick one, it'll be one of my own from Dallas, and that's Tyrese Maxey. He's always smiling, and he's still got that killer instinct in him. But he's one of those
Mhm.
guys that plays at high speed, and he can shoot it from deep, and he's electric. But I've been watching him since he was a young kid in Dallas, and if anybody, he would be the one. But we need more. We need more people with that passion, with that fire, and that intensity, and that love of the game. Like to me, that's the one thing that's missing. Anthony Edwards is another one. He gets to it, but it's hard. There's far and few between that still play with that passion.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
You as well.
Yeah, excellent stuff right there. AM Pfeffer, come on in here with the great Jason Terry.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on. Like Doc X said, and he started the interview with it being a huge fan. You were shaking your head. I'm wearing the Jets side. By the way, the appropriate
You know what
response
it is.
all around.
I can't even take you seriously. I get it. You got to be a diehard fan to wear that sweater you got on.
I mean, 40 plus years of pain, and I'm trying to mentally
Oh,
segue away from the NBA season and embrace what's coming with the NFL. I'm starting early here.
oh,
But like Doc X said, he's a huge fan of yours. Jason, I am a massive fan of yours. This goes back. So you and I are just about the same age. My time was 96 to 2000 at Indiana University, but I was this
oh,
close to bearing down myself. I visited a friend of mine who was, I'm out of Denver those years. I visited a friend of mine who was a year older down in Arizona for the weekend to see if I wanted to go to that school. And I barely made it out alive. Let's just say that. It was that kind of weekend. And I'm like, if I spend any more time here, there is no way I'm graduating, let alone, I'm not going to make it through sophomore year. So I ended up at
Right.
Indiana University. But there I was, like, falling in love with college basketball, falling in love with your team in '97. And I just want to add this. Obviously, the Natty was there, but, like, people forget, man, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. You guys ran through one of the best gauntlets ever to win that national championship. So major congratulations to you on that so many years later.
No,
By all
thank
means,
you.
I have a question, but if you want to add anything to that,
No,
I
I
do
was
have
just going to
a quick
elaborate on
question.
that because we talk about the toughest road to the NBA finals and winning that championship. Our NCAA final was hell. Kansas, who was number one all year, Rafe LaFrance, Jock Vaughn, Paul Pierce. And then you go the next round, you play Providence, who has Sham God and two other elite players, Jamel Thomas. And then you get to North Carolina with Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter. And then you face Kentucky. Now, Kentucky didn't have Derek Anderson, who I thought if he was healthy, I mean, maybe that outcome is different, but you still had a ton of NBA guys and Rick Pitino. Like, that was, to me, the toughest run to an NCAA championship that there's ever been. We knocked off 3 number 1 seeds en route to that
Wow.
title. And that was pretty
Yeah,
tough. But I just had to
yeah,
give you that right there.
I'm so glad you did, because again, you cannot compare what it was in the late '90s, early 2000s in college basketball to what it is today. What you guys had to go through to win that national championship, very different. So that was
100%.
incredible. But my question for you, because again, you came out in the '99 draft. I mean, there's some names that really jump out at me when thinking about it, like Elton Brand, obviously number one, but like Steve Franchise, Wally Serbiak. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I know you came out and you were 10 to Atlanta, right? I mean, those are your first
Mhm.
formative years before you made your name for yourself down in Dallas. But I always wanted to know, especially because you're a 19-year guy. You've spent all the time. You're a few years out of the league now. Like, maybe you can answer this question with the true honesty. Where did you want to go? Where were you hopeful to be drafted, and by who in 1999? Can you answer that question?
Oh yeah, for sure. So sitting in that draft room, first of all, I worked out for 13 teams in 17 days. Unheard of. Nobody ever has done that. I don't think it will ever be done again. But for me, it was I needed to be where all the top point guards were in the draft that were going to work out. And you named a couple of them: Steve Francis, Baron Davis, Andre Miller, and then there was a kid from Duke named Will Avery. And then myself, we were the top 5. And so I wanted to be at every single workout. I never worked out for the Atlanta Hawks. Never worked out for them. I actually worked out for Golden State, who had the 10th pick. They traded that pick on draft night to acquire the 10th pick um, from Golden State. But the ninth, we're in the draft room. Guys are getting drafted, they're getting picked. I knew it wouldn't be Cleveland. Cleveland was at 7. I worked out for them. They changed coaches and they called me back for another workout, and I declined because I told you my schedule. It was too rigorous. There was no way for me to go back and work out for a team a second time. So Cleveland was at 7. I had worked out for them. So I was like, oh, that could be a possibility, but they probably still pissed off I didn't go back. Toronto was, I think, 8. I had my best workout in Toronto. It was myself and Wally Zerbiak. I promise you, I didn't miss one shot. I broke the record for their conditioning test, and I didn't miss one shot. I thought they were going to take me. Isaiah Thomas at the time was in their front office, and he was a mentor of mine as well. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. They didn't take me. So now the pick is number 9 is Phoenix. I'm thinking in my mind, Arizona Wildcats, stay home, go play in
Yeah.
Phoenix. I could play combo guard. They already had, I forget who their point guard was at the time, but they already had a couple point guards on the roster. And I'm like, but still, it makes sense. Like, I could play combo. They always play 5 guards anyway. That was their motto. Then they played small ball. I'm thinking 9. They picked Sean Marion. So now I'm
Marion.
like, man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going at this point. My nerves are going. I'm sweating. My suit, first of all, was polyester blend, and it was the Steve Harvey suit. So it was real hot in there. It was very hot. But but then the 10th pick came, and the Atlanta Hawks named me, and it was a surprise. Again, I hadn't worked out for them. Didn't know them, didn't know their ownership. Did know Lenny Wilkins from being a longtime Sonic fan. And it was a blessing. It was a very, very blessed evening. Very fortunate that they decided to choose me at 10.
Awesome, man. Thank you for
Wow.
that. Phoenix,
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
I
being
love it.
Phoenix, I get it.
All right. So, Coach Jet, let's get into your coaching journey here, and I also want to ask you about the Jazz. What I'm curious, where did you get the coaching bug? Was it a conversation with somebody, or can you maybe cite a coach that kind of inspired you while you were playing or whatever? But like, where did that come from? And then where are you trying to take your coaching journey? Because as we said, you're entering, it's either your fourth or fifth year with the Jazz here, but how did you get into it, and where do you want to take this?
So in 2009, when I was with the Mavericks, I started my girls' grassroots basketball program, which I actually coached myself. And so I've been doing that now in my off seasons for almost 20 years now, 18 years, or 17, whatever the number is, 18, 17 years now. And so that's where I would perfect my craft of coaching. It's not an ordinary grassroots program where you just roll the ball out. We have a practice plan, we have film study. Then we travel all around the country with the girls and take them to these showcase events. So through my time in the NBA in my off seasons, when I'm not training, I would coach these young women. Probably around 2015, I was with the Houston Rockets. I was talking to Coach McHale, and I'm in his office, and he has some coaching books in his office, and he's like, you're getting towards the end of your career. What do you want to do afterwards? And I'm like, man, I've been coaching this girls grassroots program. I think I got something. We're doing pretty well. We had competed in some national championships. My girls are going to college. I'm seeing the recruiting thing. So I don't know at this point if it's college or if it's pro, but he said, well, for us this next couple of years, I want you to assume a player type coach role. You're still going to play your minutes, but I want you to come and be involved in these film sessions and see some of the preparation that it goes into in preparing and getting ready for the season and for these games. And so I started to come into the coaches' meetings before practice, and I would still do my own routine. So I kept that up. After I leave Houston, I go to Milwaukee, and Jason Kidd's the coach. Now he's allowing me to jump in on game planning. He's allowing me to do some player development. Giannis at that time was young and developing, Jabari Parker, and we had a couple other guys that I would actually come to some we called night school. So the night after or the night before a game or in another city before a game, we would take guys to the gym and we would train. We'd put them through a workout, kind of similar to what I did as a player in Dallas with Dirk. And I would go to these coaches' meetings and I would still practice with the guys. I wasn't playing as much. So at that particular time, it's like, man, his career is definitely over at this point. Like, yeah, there's no way I can compete with these guys. Guys are moving way too fast. I'm the jet. I'm moving like a prop plane. It's over. Let's really think about what we're going to do after basketball. And, those 4 years of player coaching really got the bug going. And also my years of coaching my AU program. And then my first year out, I spent half my time as an AGM for the Texas Legends. And then half the time I coached a high school girls basketball team. And we ended up winning a state championship. So from there, my path was set. I knew then, I like, look, you got so you keep winning championships, like you're doing good, like you got it, right? Because a lot of times people think coaching is about X's and O's. It has probably 20% to do with that, but 80% is about the connectivity with the people, right? Can you get a group of people to buy into what you're selling to fight for one common goal, right? And that common goal is to win at the end of the day, to win a championship. And I felt like I was always a connector as a player, as a man in the household with my siblings. Like I was always the one in a group with my friends. I was always the one to bring the group together. And I think that was one of my biggest traits. And so after I left the Legends, I ran into Calvin Booth at Summer League, who was the Denver Nuggets GM, went to a dinner with him, and he said, hey, we'd like you to be the Denver Nuggets G League head coach. We think you're our guy. I've never been a head coach except for high school and AAU, but hey, I'll try it. Let's see how it goes. had a great experience in Denver and Grand Rapids. You know, in the G League, it's not about wins and losses. It's more about how you can get your guys called up and to the next level. In my time in Grand Rapids, I had 6 guys called up. 3 guys got NBA contracts. Isaiah Thomas, Lance Stevenson, and Nick Stauskas were the 3 guys that I got called up. Now it was COVID and the times were different, but I still seen that as a success. So from there, that next summer,
Mhm.
I interviewed for the head coaching job for the Utah Jazz. Didn't quite get the job, but Danny Ainge, a good friend of mine back from my Boston Celtic days, said, "You know what, Jet? We're hiring a young coach. That's the direction we're going in, but we want you. We want your expertise. We want you around. Will you accept the assistant coach position?" I said, "You know what, Danny? I'm going to follow your lead on this one. I aspire to be a head coach, but if you say come with you, I trust you, and let's see where it takes us." I've been with the Utah Jazz now for 4 seasons. I'm under the leadership of Will Hardy, who is one of the brightest minds in basketball we have today. And I'm loving every minute of it. We got a great young team. This year we'll have the number 2 pick. And hey, we make the right pick, the sky's the limit of what we can do next year. There's no limitation on
Mhm.
what this team can do. I can see us making a run similar to what the Spurs did this year as a dark horse, end up in the playoffs
Yep.
and beyond. But I think we do have the pieces, we have the leadership in place, and we have the coaching staff that is equipped to leading a young group of men to the next level.
I'm excited, Jet, for the what's at stake to return to the Utah Jazz because it's been just different, right? The last few years, but now like it's time. And you look at the roster, and we're not going to ask you about Kessler. It's too murky, right? And that's not your job. That's Danny and Justin Zanuck. Obviously a terrific player, but you got Jaren Jackson Jr. and Markkanen, and I love Ace Bailey and Sensabaugh, and you got Keontae George and Jamal Collier. Like, there's some studs. I like Filipowski.
Mhm.
There's studs on this roster, man. You guys are going to get the 2nd overall pick. Here come the Utah Jazz. Jet, I got one more
Yep.
question for you, and if any of these guys have like one more before we let you go, they can get it in. Is Jalen Brunson the best guard in the NBA?
I mean, it's hard to deny him. I think SGA will have something to say about that.
Yep.
Um, Anthony Edwards will have something to say about that. But you know, when you're a point guard, you're only judged on if you win or lose. And he won. At the end of the day, this year, this season, he's the best. He's the cream of the crop. He led his team to a championship. He did it in dramatic fashion. The route in which they took to get there was incredible. Winning what, 14 straight playoff games in a row, doing it on the road, coming from behind. Like he did it, man. He did it. He did it. He led his team. And he did whatever it took. You know, sometimes he had to take 25 to 30 shots to get there. I don't care about the numbers and yeah, we want our guys to be efficient, but at the end of the day, I tell all my guys, shoot to win. However many attempts that takes to get you to win, that's what you need to do. And he did it on every single given night. And it wasn't hard. I mean, it wasn't easy. Like, he faced double teams, he faced different coverages, but he dug deep and did what it took to win. So right now, Jalen Brunson is the cream of the crop.
Excellent.
I like that
Excellent.
take,
Anybody
Jet. I
else?
like that take.
Look at that. Look at that Nick pal. He loves that. Oh man. Just ain't
I
stopped
got,
smiling since, buddy. Look, the hardest thing it
I
is to
got
do now, the hardest thing to do now is to repeat. I'm gonna tell you that.
100%.
You're
Because that parade, that parade gonna last about 4 or 5 months. And it's not only gonna be in New
right.
York, it's gonna be in every city they go to. So they better stay focused. And if they really want to win another one, just know you got a lot of young, hungry teams out there, not only in the East, but the West as
Oh
well,
yeah.
that are gonna be gunning for them boys, man. So they go from the hunted to the hunter. Look at this. Hey, I love
Oh
it.
yeah, put
I
that
love it.
back
But
up.
congratulations, man. I know you've been through a lot of heartbreak along the way, man.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Hey, look,
sir.
hey, hey,
That's fire.
Jet, I got
Thank
one more
you.
for, look at that. J-
I mean, the man got an orange
Jet,
couch. Is that an orange couch back there? It's crazy.
pillows,
Sort of,
pillows.
kind of. So just some pillows.
But before I ask the question,
Jed, he's a
listen,
real one.
Phil.
Doc's a real one for
He's
sure,
a
man.
real one.
Quite go ahead. He's a real one,
Yes,
man.
that's
I'm
what I wanted
telling
to
you.
say. But Jet, Dr. X, my cousin Phil, that's my cousin, my first cousin Phil. I could vouch for the Nick fandom. I've been hearing about this
Okay.
for years. This is not fake. He has all the jackets, he has all the colorways, all the colorway shoes. Trust me, he goes to games in full Nick sweatsuit gear. I've been to the garden with him, so this is not fake. This is all real. It's all authentic. So please,
Good deal.
I got to defend my cousin in that regard. You touched
Good
on it
deal.
briefly. I want to go back to Utah Jazz right now, and I'm not going to ask any invasive questions. This is the week of the draft. I know Danny Ainge and his son are on the phone right now trying to negotiate whatever. In a perfect world, your current roster, when healthy, and you add a pick next Tuesday, if healthy, the way the NBA is going right now, we saw the more experienced Knicks beat the young upstart San Antonio Spurs. Do you feel with a Keontae George, an Ace Bailey, an Isaiah Collier, a Jaron Jackson Jr., Lowry Markkinen, Walker Kessler, Filipowski, all sensible? That is a young roster that I feel is built for today's NBA. Do you think, when healthy, you can compete with the upper echelon of the Western Conference, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Nuggets, teams like that, when healthy? I know you're talking about experience, but that's a talented roster that you and Will Hardy have over there in Utah. How do you feel about that roster if it remains the same after next Tuesday? I know a lot can happen, but if healthy with this roster and you add the pick next Tuesday, how do you feel going into next season?
Well, I tell you what, with our fan base and our ownership group and our player development staff, man, that who I think I've been around a lot of staffs, man. These guys put in a lot of hours with our players. These guys will continue to develop, and when the lights come on, they're going to show up and they're going to compete. You know, that's one of our things that we live and hang our hat on with our staff and with our team and with our culture. It's about the competition. It's about working hard. And when we do those two things and we do it together as a collective, as a group, we'll compete against anyone. And that's the only thing I can guarantee about our team next year and on into the future is that whoever puts on those Utah Jazz uniforms, they will compete to the highest level.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching because listen, I watch every team, and I know how good you guys can be when healthy, and the roster to me is it's built for today's
That's
NBA.
prime.
And Danny Ainge is a competitive guy. He wants to make sure the Jazz, that the fan base is taken care of. He wants to bring the winning mentality back to Utah. So I know that he's doing everything in his power to make sure that everything fits, everything is healthy, and that you guys show that fan base in Salt Lake City and in the state of Utah that is the proper representative of what he feels needs to happen on the floor. I just want you guys to be healthy because I think you guys can compete with any team in the NBA with this current roster. I think it's fantastic. I think the sky's the limit. I hope the best for you guys. I really do. I'm sincere about that.
No, thank you. It's going to be fun. Very, very entertaining. And like I said, we will compete every single night.